Hello and welcome to DataSpace Academy Presents Dialogue with the Gurus. I am Ankun Dhar, your host for the day, and with me is Mitul Das. Mr. Das is the Chief Executive Officer of Yours Digitally. With Mr. Das, I'm going to get into a conversation for the next 30 minutes on influencer marketing and brand building in 2024. But before I join this conversation with him, let me tell you, you can also rope in as well with your comments, your queries, and of course, your questions. All you have to do is to put them on the comment section below, and I will definitely pass them to Mr. Das. Mitulda, the long awaited quintessential Adda is just about to happen. Welcome to Dataspace Academy.
Thank you, Ankon. Always a privilege, always a pleasure talking to you, spending time with you. And we've been doing it in different formats. We call it different channels, by the way. So, yeah, look forward to having a great conversation with you. Thank you so much for
Mitulda,
having me.
yeah, Mitulda, I was wondering if we can start off with the evolution of influencer marketing, because all I remember is, there was a time when all the brands were investing in TikTok because all the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas was mostly associated with that particular media. And then when TikTok got banned in India, all the audiences shifted to Instagram and primarily on Reels. So I'm not going to subject on one particular media, as in like why Instagram, why YouTube, and we can't forget the OGs of content creation, which is the guest blogging. But I just want to hear from you that how this evolution of influencer marketing has started in India and why the brands all of a sudden became so keen and attentive on investing on this particular media.
Yeah, that's a very interesting starting point, Ankon, because coincidentally, this has coincidentally, this is also my topic for PhD research. And very interestingly, when you trace back or trace the roots of influencer marketing, there are multiple, campaigns which come into mind. I do not know whether the audience who are tuning in will relate to the Sunsilk Gang advertising campaign. The, uh, the campaigns where the first time in US people actually um, saw a camcorder being put into a person's um, um, uh, uh, face, and that the same went live all over, and suddenly people realized that this is very powerful. um, if I um, if I kind of align with Ankon, I would like to know what Ankon does in his day. How does he spend his day? What kind of dress does he wear? What kind of sneakers does he wear? When does he do his meditation? When does he study? So, this is exactly the concept which actually influenced the whole concept of influencer marketing, where brands and consumers. So typically, when you look at the marketing triangle, you have the brands, you have the consumers, and you have the brand products and services. So it's a triangle drawn between a brand, the consumer, and the product and the services. Suddenly, there was a fourth node which came in, which was the influencer. So the brand started getting, the brands went and identified a set of people whom they felt could represent the brand or represent the products and services, who in turn could influence the consumer community, and that became a channel of branding, awareness, and so on and so forth for the brand. So typically, the whole concept of influencer marketing is based on one term, and that is something which I would like to talk with you for a couple of seconds more. And that term is called parasocial interaction. So so when I sit in front of you, right, I know you, I'm interacting with you. This is a social interaction. But when I actually watch a movie, when I watch a Ranveer Singh or a Ranbir Kapoor or a Shah Rukh Khan doing something, in my mind, I have an aspiration of doing something similar. And that's why people watch drama, movies, fine arts, and stuff like that. So I somewhere, for me, Shah Rukh Khan becomes an hero. I follow him. I idolize him. I want to become like him. I want to wear clothes like him. I want to have a style like him. And that is exactly what you leverage in your digital interactions when you select and create that influencer cohort, where you identify a set of people who can influence your consumers, and in turn you can create a behavioral marketing or experiential marketing if you are a brand owner. So that's the general funda, Ankan, which is now, of course, when we talk all over this discussion, we will see the pitfalls of it. But this was something which initiated this entire journey of influencer marketing for the last couple of years.
Okay. So, Mitunda, also, I was wondering about the relatability factor. Because when you talk about that, I get to see a Ranveer Singh or a Ranveer Kapoor, and then all of a sudden I just try to be in their shoes and wonder that how my life will change if I just suddenly think and dress and probably walk like them. And this is also a very interesting point that we, in a very subtle way, move our subconscious into that person and we become that person in course of time. So I
Yeah.
was wondering that the relatability factor, that when we get to see a lot of influencers in today's times, be it on any media, we try to relate our lives with them. We most of the times we also think that what if my life uh, will be like this if I follow these nuances. But most of the times, it also happens that when I talk about, there's a thin difference between brand ambassadors and influencers. So when we look at a brand ambassador, it's like most of the times I don't, or probably my generation won't be able to connect with Mr. Bachchan. I do not know. I mean, I'm just making
Yeah.
a huge point of view here, right here, because what Mr. Bachchan will endorse, what he will ask us to buy, probably a product of, let's say, ICICI Bank. So something like that, I don't relate. Something that my, following generations won't be able to relate. So how does this relatability changes from time to time based with the influences?
See, this is extremely um, vital or deep uh, pointers which you have brought to the table. And I think I'm so happy that within the next question, you have brought in a term which I guess is where the problem starts. And that exactly is what you rightly said, the relatability aspect. Now, see what digital as a mindset or as a um, ecosystem enabler has done. It has got it has made things more experiential or relatable in nature. For example, the example which you just now gave regarding Big B or Shri Amitabh Bachchan ji, when he is endorsing a product or when he is talking about a policy or Navratna Tel and all that, you are
Yes, exactly.
typically, that, okay, I mean, he is a brand ambassador. He's a, he's a plus actor, a hero, a legend, and stuff like that. And a brand has actually paid him X thousand rupees in order to be a brand champion.
I mean, I
All,
just wanted to add another line here, Mithulda, since we are discussing almost, I mean, we are getting into the crux of this
yeah,
context.
yeah,
That is, when we get to see, that's probably that is the reason why we relate so less with a brand ambassador putting across an advertisement on YouTube, saying that this is what where I will invest, or this is the financial package that I will buy, or this is the Navratna trail that I suggest you to, apply when you are having a very stressful day. And there are many more to come. But all I'm trying to say that the relatability factor, that when I get to see this person and I feel connected, and I get an inspiration that since this person is wearing it, or since this person has used it, I will use it as well. So I, as you were rightly pointing out, that the connection somewhere is missing. Is it because that they are endorsing multiple brands, and Akshay Kumar is endorsing multiple brands, and we are sort of getting confused how to position this character in where?
Absolutely. Let's take one example to clarify this. And I think, of course, you might have similar examples, but let's look at Ramdev Baba or Baba Ramdev. And I don't think the world has seen a better example of relatability when compared to what we saw when Ramdev Baba used to come in the Astha channel while he was building his brand Patanjali. And if you
Hmm.
recall, Ankan at that point of time, he used to do all kind of anulom vilom, which was spread across homes in every strata of our society. Everybody at that time was doing, and everybody thought that that's the mantra for a healthy life and a great physique. And when he started talking about gomutra, lauki ka juice, karele ka juice, and when he brought in all those under the umbrella of Patanjali, we never knew that here was a brand ambassador and a product influencer who was creating a story for his brand and product in such a
Yes.
structured manner, you know. And by the time we realized, actually, Patanjali has started competing with the top FMCG companies in the world. It actually challenges Hindustan Unilever at times for certain category of product. So when you talk about relatability, that's called relatability. um, Ramdev Baba never spoke about hero motorcycles and Pan Bahar and Rajnigandha and all that. He only stuck to his core: health, physique, and a range of products in that. And actually, before I end this particular part of the answer, that is exactly why when we do influencer onboarding for brands, there is a lot of this particular quantitative or qualitative study to ensure that the particular influencer we are going to get connected with is relatable to my target audiences. And that's not an easy thing to do because while I see an Oncon talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, search engine optimization, Google Workspace, I also see Ankan talking about mainline advertisement, talking about print ads, talking about radio jingle. So the moment I make Ankan a influencer for my brand, which is trying to talk about why digital is the in thing as far as advertisement goes, I have a problem because Ankan also is advocating a lot of uh, non-complementary or rather uh, competitor products or competitor solution which can actually confuse my audiences. Just an hypothetical example, but trying to substantiate what you just now said, Uncle.
Yeah, I mean, we can also talk about that in context to that's the reason why musicians make very good influencers, because musicians only endorse a musical instrument, and that is
Yeah,
what they are being identified with. So when they say that you buy this guitar or you buy this particular musical instrument, it becomes very relatable, because we don't see a musician going and doing an FMCG advertisement, or they don't ask you to buy some kachi ghani oil. So that's the beauty of it. But here are the questions coming in from the audiences. So we have one question from Facebook by Arpita. She's asking, the why is influencer marketing growing faster than digital ads? Awesome. Like, why is influencer marketing growing faster than digital ads? What do you think?
so I think typically what is happening, and the answer And that's a very good question. That's a very pertinent query which Arpita has asked. Thank you, Arpita, for putting it. I think one very simple reason, and again, this could be another session altogether. Slowly and steadily, when you look at any digital ads, whether it's a Google ad or a Facebook ad, however much you have targeted, you have used all your meta attributes for targeting or Google keywords for targeting, but then you are reaching out to a particular person and trying to talk about your product, service, brand, offers, differentiator, and it takes a lot of time, and especially in today's world where post liberalization you have got multiple choices at any point of time. It takes a lot more time to create an impact, whereas like Ankan just now gave an example, or another example from my end would be when you look at brands like GROW, into stock market and investment and all that, they all rely on existing market brokers or share brokers or stock analysts who are today running their own YouTube, blog, or Instagram channels. And on regular basis, they are live streaming how to create your own financial portfolio, which stock to invest into, how will automotive stocks do right now, how are FMCG stocks doing. And the moment these guys are talking about a particular brand or their stock or any new IPO coming in or any new NFO coming in, as a consumer, since you are already taking a lot of knowledge from them, you
Mm.
are immediately hooked. Like Ankan, you
Yes.
gave an example that the moment, I mean, I love your the way you play the flute, and at some point of time, if you talk about a small product which you believe can help me to learn to play flute like you, I might just say, okay, I'm going to go for it, which is difficult when you do it through pure plain vanilla ad. Having said that, um, we cannot give a blanket statement that influencer marketing is growing bigger than the ads. It cannot be a blanket statement, but we are seeing that it is definitely a far more reliable channel to consumers compared to just seeing a Meta ad or a Google ad. So that could be one of the probable reasons to which what
And that's
Arpita has
quicker.
just now
And if
asked.
I talk about the process itself, it's also kind of quicker. Because
Yeah,
if I have a Virat Kohli telling me that this is the financial product that you should invest in, compared to somebody who just stays next to my flat and comes and tells me, this is where I've invested. That is more relatable. So this
of course.
neighborhood thing is a far more relatable thing that the person who you see and you get confused in multiple product market fit. So I think that's another way of looking at it. And the other comments coming in, mostly saying that completely agree. The message of the Dove campaign laid back was the women's unique differences should be celebrated rather than ignored, had a greater impact at the time. So if you do you remember the Dove campaign?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah,
they
yeah,
have not changed
absolutely.
their stances, and since
No,
beginning till
no.
now, they have never changed what they stood for.
No, we have a good audience here, Ankan, because the moment you talk about the Dove campaign and it was the first brand which perhaps had the guts and courage to celebrate, like what she has written. Um, every brand used to show that ideal beauty, and
Yeah.
used to rope in the most beautiful faces in their campaign. Where Dove came in with a campaign where they selected the regular people, the daily people who had wrinkles on their face, people who were aging, and they said Dove was for everybody. And I think, like you rightly said, they still stick to that same ethos, and that makes them what they are today. So it's a very interesting line of communication, or rather, it's a, so I like to just add to our discussion here, and this is
Mhm.
something, since, like I said, this is my research subject as well. I mean, when you look at this entire influencer category of marketing or influencer driven brand marketing, there are two primary there is a bifurcation. There are two primary categories in this marketing. One, where you are trying to bring in content creators who are who have the ability to do magic with your products and services, and they are like, so I'll give you an example of this. We were doing a work with Tata Agrico, and Tata Agrico, they come with different kind of tools, hand tools, power tools, electrodes, agricultural tools. So they have a range of products. We actually identified a set of influencers in India who are making best out of waste. So they have the ability of creating very, very interesting artifacts out of your home wastes. And while doing that, they use the Tata Agrico products. So here, what we are trying to do is we are actually roping in content creators or content creation, which can bring in a different dimension to your product and service. So that's
Correct.
one category. And the second category, which I think we refer more as influencers, is where I am identifying people who can live my brand, who can give my consumers an experiential understanding of my brand, a behavioral understanding of my brand. And that is where I think the true influencer word gets attached. So I am a company which is into organic t-shirts or organic products, natural products, and I choose Ankan, who is a role model, who is followed by the youth, who is liked by people in his ecosystem as my brand influencer. And he is actually living the brand in the truest sense. He has actually got into veg food. He is consuming only organic items. He is not only using my organic product, but he is trying to create an organic lifestyle around him,
Yeah.
and he is actually projecting that lifestyle to my other consumers. He's
Mm.
actually waking up in the morning and doing an Insta post and saying, just woke up using a Ramdhun from Bapu Gandhiji. Now, that's an organic thought. Now,
Mm.
I mean, just finished washing my utensils after having a sattvic lunch. So suddenly, my consumers who follow Ankan on Instagram or on YouTube, they are influenced. They are seeing this as a new lifestyle, and subtly, my organic products are also getting, showcased in that whole process. So, example one and example two are two different aspects or two bifurcation of the same concept of influencer marketing. One where you are roping in a content creator to give a different dimension to your content, to your brand, to your product, to your services, and one where you are identifying people who can represent the brand as a brand champion or a brand prosumer. So that makes influencer marketing a very, very strong concept.
Yeah. So there are other questions, but I'll take it later. Another thing which is I find it very relevant. So we've just come back. You know, the question or the pointers of relatability is something which always keeps on playing in our mind. So how do you relate? How do you relate to this character? How do you relate to the lifestyle? How do you relate to the person? And at a point of time, it is adding some kind of inspiration in our life, so that probably if I live a Sattvic life, I can leave somebody like him or be somebody like him. So that's kind of like getting into his shoes and his lifestyle and understanding the world nuances. So, but Mitulda, about when I talk about the influencers and the brands, can you tell me about when exactly did this gap analysis happen? When did the brands realize that this is the high time we should bring in ordinary people rather than public faces to use them on advertising and branding purposes?
A very good question in the sense that, Ankan, I'll be very honest. I do not, or rather, I will not like to pin the exact time frame of this change which happened, because in bits and pieces there were a lot of such experiments were happening in US. There are a lot of these market researchers, social scientists who were doing various kind of experiments. And I think while you do your PhD or research, and when you access these research articles, you find that a lot of these concepts based on which, when we create our content or when we decide on a channel mix, is actually a result of these experiments which are done. So a lot of these experiment was happening all around the world or all around the globe, especially in the especially in USA, where people were trying to identify various ways of simulating user behavior. How does one create a more holistic alignment uh, with the consumers? So, I mean, we all know that, how did social media came into play? Social media came into play because people realized that it's far more easier to build network with storytelling than with selling. I mean, we know it on our day to day. Today, Ankan, if you are calling me and if I'm very busy with my day to day life, I'm still going to take your call because I know I will have a good social interaction with you. But if I'm getting a call from an unknown number, or if the call starts with, sir, I am calling from so and so credit card company and I want to take 2 minutes of your time, if I am very, very caught up, I am most likely going to not take that call. So that was a social behavior or social interaction research which prompted people and gave them an understanding of social media marketing. It's a different thing that a lot of people today misuse social media marketing, and they try to actively sell on social media and they make a mess out of things. Similarly, like you gave a very good example, that rather than relating to a Virat Kohli or relating to a Amitabh Bachchan or relating to a Ranveer Singh, um, we get more uh, uh, we get more influenced, or we can relate more with people who are next door, people who are close to us, people who talk like us, people who get angry like us, people who get emotional like us, people who are not so-called uh, socialites, celebrities for that matter. I mean, they seem to be more relatable. And when they talk about their preferences in terms of fashion, in terms of food, in terms of merchandise, in terms of so, like for example, when a doctor says that, please use this oil. This is this Safola oil or this rice bran oil is good for heart. It is going to minimize your cholesterol because it has got DX, Y, Z, etc. You suddenly are you the guy sounds believable. I mean, you know that he is not going to really talk about anything. He's just not going to talk about Navratna oil and Borolene and ICICI Lombard policy in one ad in 1 hour in three different ads. So I think that brought gave the attention to the brand, that instead of course, in addition to doing brand ambassadors and celebrity influencers, what if we create a pool of relatable people who are more closer to the ecosystem, who are more willing to talk about their day-to-day experiences, good, bad, ugly, everything, who are vulnerable like my general consumers are, who are more human, like my consumers are. And that perhaps started this whole trend of roping in influencers, or influencers who could uh, create the brand narrative or pull the brand narrative through their own channel. So I think that was the
Yeah.
general way it happened, Ankit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it just we are almost. I mean, I don't know how this time flew by. We have crossed over 30 minutes, but just take up one last question from Amir Sheikh. Here's the question on the screen. What are the things we must consider to find an influencer for a small or mid-sized business? Mithilda, I want you to answer this, and then I have one last question before we end this.
Lovely. So, Amir, that's a very interesting question. And just to give you an idea, agencies all over the globe and in India, they are trying to figure out the best framework which can help you to find the right kind of influencers. I can give you certain parameters, though again, it will depend on what kind of an SME business we are talking about. But generally, the parameters we look for is one of the key term which Ankan has already mentioned, relatability of the influencer which you are trying to bring on board, um, the popularity of his particular channel in terms of number of followers, what is the reach, what is the recency of his communication. There are many influencers who do not take a lot of effort in managing their channels, so you should be really as a brand you should not be trying to engage with them. Then the biggest point of view is how align or how uh, good will that influencer understand my brand brief. And this is what I want to introduce, that one of the biggest loopholes of using nano or micro influencers, that these are the terms which we use for the influencers which we are talking about. When you use a nano influencer or a micro influencer, you need to be very, very clear about the brand brief and the interpretation of the brand brief the influencer makes. Because unless and until there is a compliance to your brand, there could be a lot of problem which you might face as a brand in front of that particular with that influencer. So, Ahmed, these are a couple of pointers which you need to take care of.
Awesome. I think we are almost done with our live, and I have one last question to ask you. That can you tell us, or rather, give us a few influencers that you follow, and why do you follow?
Ankan, this is the most difficult question, to be very honest, because I generally follow very few influencers beyond my professional life, and the one which I follow in my professional life is more like when I'm working with that brand, I do my research with them and interact with them, but they do not well and truly make a lot of mark on me to remember and quote. But for example, I follow Neil Patel a lot,
Yeah,
because of the kind of ideas he brings to the table.
yeah.
And I follow a few sports influencer, like I follow Harsha Bhogle very closely because I like his sports analysis. I follow a couple of people like Malcolm Gladwell, who is an economist with
Yes.
a statistical background. So he has all those books called Blink, Outlier, which Tipping Point, which I love as a
Cooking point is
consumer.
very
So
famous. Yeah.
yeah. So I think these are a couple of my personal choices, Uncle.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much, Mitulda. I can't say that how overwhelmed I am to have this interaction with you, and I'm sure that our audience had taken something out of it. Guys, thank you for being with us for so long, and we will be back again with another exciting episode of Learning, Fun, Branding, Advertising with another guest of ours. But before we move off, let me tell you that DataSpace Academy is a premium ATIC organization who trains students on digital marketing, cybersecurity, data science, data analytics, business analytics, and many more. So, if you want to visit us, we have our website www.dataspaceacademy.com. And also, if you get to see our phone number, which is right there on the motion strip itself, you can call us directly and get yourself counseled by our eminent team of counselors. Until next time, you keep yourself safe and be happy. We'll catch you up soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ankan. Bye-bye.